The Moderator is already here. Hello, the Moderator. Welcome. Thanks for coming along to another Alan and Heath Q&A. Q&A. See what I've done there. So this is a number 4, episode 4. We got up to episode 4. We haven't had one for a little while. Sorry about that. We did have a rig rundown instead on 1 week. But yes, if you haven't come along before, welcome. Thanks for joining. What we're doing in these sessions is that you guys can ask us anything you'd like. I'm doing Q and SQ. Jack is doing Avantis and DLive. And Al is also doing Zone. So if there's any DJs out there and you want to ask some questions about our Zone range, look out for the Zone ones. They're appearing on this page that you're watching this on, or this channel, but also on the Zone pages. So, and those are great. Anthony's here. Hello. Klaus is here. Nice to see you as well. I mean, I can't see you, which is a shame, but I hope you're well. Hugo, hello. And Guillaume from France is here too. If you guys have got any questions today, I didn't prepare a lot today because the other day I did a really long, boring PowerPoint presentation for people and I felt a bit bad about it. So I didn't do that today, so you've been spared. But if you have any questions, do ask and I will get around to them. But I am going to just talk about a few things on Q. Just to kind of kick us off. So what I wanted to look at, because we do get asked about this a lot, is look at DCAs and groups and what the difference is and where you would use one over the other. Tony, hello in Miami, Tony. So yes, DCAs and groups. And hopefully this works. What I've done is I've set up to share my my iPad screen, because hopefully that's going to be clearer for you guys. So fingers crossed. Look at that beauty. Look at that. Lovely. Whee. Right. So let's log in and this will be easier to see when it's on screen. So groups, first of all. So the Q16 doesn't have any groups, but as you go up from the Q16, so the 24, the 32, and of course the Q pack and the QSB, which both have the 32 core, they have groups. They also have some groups that you can use as mixes. So mixes, you probably know, we have definitely covered that a few times, and hopefully you're all aware of what a mix is. It works a bit like an aux on some of our other desks, or an aux on a analog desk, and it's an auxiliary mix aside from the main mix. So it kind of runs in parallel to the main mix, but it's usually used for setting up monitors. So each monitor will have its own mix or a separate mix, or for different zones or for streams and whatnot. So usually that's an output. That's it's a different combination of channels and sounds that you're sending somewhere else. So that would be these ones on QPad app. So you've got 4 mono mixes there, and those are just generally they're going to be used for like I say, monitors or other zones. Where a group differs is that you're still making a kind of a mix of channels, a combination of channels. I shouldn't say mix because these are called mixes. It's a group of channels, a group of input channels. And you can then do what you like with them. So you do have, excuse me, you do have outputs, group outputs. So you could use the group outputs to send inputs somewhere else. If you wanted to, just group a few of them up. You could use them like as a submix, basically. So you can send out submixes of, say, drums. That's quite a classic one. In fact, let's talk about drums. That's a nice and easy one. So you could combine a bunch of those drums and just send them as a stereo feed somewhere else as stems to use. So it's not necessarily an output. It's that you're sending it and using it somewhere else. So to assign any channels to a group, let's name some of these so we know where we're at. So kick, snare, and then, do I go hats next? I'm going to go hats next. Why not? Kick, snare, hats. I'm going to go all the way. So T1, T2. Let's just do what we've got on the screen. Okay, foot left, and let's do overhead right. fine. That's my kind of mix. Let's go back to left right, so you know we're in familiar territory. I'm going to unlink those because I don't want my kick and snare to be linked. Okay, so back in kind of familiar territory, lovely. Probably hats down there somewhere. Toms, yeah, great. I'll put some gets on those in a minute. Overhead left and right. Let's pan them. Why not? Well, I'll tell you why not, because not everybody on the right can hear everything on the left. But let's pan them for now. So group. If I want to group these, I can just go to my groups section. And I'll show you this on the console as well in a minute. And I just want to add them all to the group. So just switch the on buttons there. You can probably see those coming on. So now those are all going to group 1 and 2. And in fact, group 1 and 2, I'm going to call drums. Now, you have that group and you can send that group as if it was one stereo channel. And you can send that to the main mix. But the first thing you want to do, because I've assigned them to the group, in most situations, is go back to your left-right mix and unassign those channels from the main mix. And that's because you don't want the direct sound coming from those input channels plus the sound that you're making for the mix. In the group, you'll see, if I jump to a mix, this is another point between mixes and groups. If I go to my mix, so that's my, let's say, monitor. Let's just name it so we know where we're at. Monitor. If I jump to that, you'll see the faders move because I've got sends on faders, and this is what's going to that monitor. If I want to send snare to that monitor and nothing else, that's fine, I can do that. But if I go to the group, you'll see the faders don't move, and that's because they're still following. Oh. That's the only thing we're sharing this screen. It's going to come back. It's back. Got to make sure my laptop doesn't go to sleep by the side of me. It's getting warm. Okay. I don't do video, I do audio. So groups. The faders haven't moved because they're going to follow exactly the levels that I'm setting in the main mix. So I can mix as normal in that main mix, in the left-right mix. All my other channels, say I've got a bass here. Let's say that's bass. That is still going to the left-right mix. And I can mix all of these channels at the same time. So I still have control over everything. But the beauty of going through a group is that I can then do things like process all of the drums in one go. Or I can raise and lower the drums in one go to the left-right mix. So I have a master fader just for that drum group. So I can change the individual levels of things in the same way as I normally would. That all makes sense. But my drums, and you'll see if I go over to my mixes as well. So that's my left-right mix. So that drums group now on the left is on for the left-right mix. And I can raise or lower the level of all of the drums in one go. But what I can also do is process them because it's made a mix of those channels, so I can EQ them overall. So this is like an EQ that's affecting all of my drums in one go. So I just need to brighten up the whole of the drum mix a little bit. There you go. Or I just need to cut out a bunch of the mid-range of all of the drums in one go. Or more commonly, I want to compress them. So I want to compress all of the drums together, and that means that when you get that snare hit or that kick coming through, everything's just going to pump a little bit, and you get that nice compressed sound overall on the drums. That is my drum bus. So it is a mix. It's a mix of channels. Where DCAs differ from this is that DCAs, I can also go in here and I could set up a DCA to be drums as well. Thankfully, it's red rather than blue, so we should be able to keep an eye on what's going on. So drum group and now drum DCA. And you'll see at the top here, I can assign channels to my drum DCA. And where this differs is that I can still raise or lower the level of all of those input channels in one go by using this fader here. But what that's doing is it's a remote control for the input channel faders here, and it's a multiple of them. The DCA is not doing any processing. So the DCA is just a remote control fader. and you've got you're not mixing anything, you're not compressing or processing anything, you can't send the DCA on elsewhere. It's just going to be just remote controlling those faders. So the things to be aware of there is that with my mix, so my group of drums, I can send that group of drums to a mix. So if I wanted to send that mix that I've done, where I've compressed them all and I've EQ'd them as I want them, if I want to send all of those drums to mix one, I can, and I don't have to. If I go back to my mix one here, I don't have to send any of those. I could leave the faders down. I could switch them off if I wanted to. If I want to be really sure, I'm definitely not going to send those input channels the same way as I did with the left-right mix. But I could just leave all those faders down, and then none of those input channels are going directly to the mix. But if I go over here to my groups, I can send the group of the drums, so all of the drums together, to that mix. Hopefully that makes sense. With DCAs, where it differs is I can't send, because the DCA is just a remote control for those master faders, I can't send that DCA somewhere else, but I do have to be aware that it's going to affect anything that's post-fade as well, because it is a remote control. It's like putting your fingers on all the faders at once and moving them. You won't see them move because you still want to have that relative balance and still be able to mix them individually. So if I pull this down, say -10, when I go back to my inputs, if that snare is at 0, that snare is actually now sending at -10 because it's the two of the things together. This kick, if I do that at -5, that's now sending at -15. So hopefully that kind of makes sense, and hopefully that explains a little bit of the difference between DCAs and groups. Let's see if we've got any questions come in while I've been waffling on. There's loads more people here now. Oh, okay. Hello. iOS music production. Oh, interesting. Do you have any devices that integrates with an audio capture workflow, tutorials and mixer input output? This is an interesting question because, Joe, our USB compatible devices, so our ZEDis, the Q and the SQ, they work in class compliant mode over USB-B. So if you have the official camera adapter, like the USB camera adapter, some of the unofficial ones will work as well, but we test with the official ones, so those are the ones that we support. You can connect up and it will just work in class compliant mode, and you will get a load of channels coming from your Q. I've seen people do multi-track onto iPads from a Q, for example. So we do have devices that can integrate with any iOS DAWs or recording or software. We don't really have any tutorials available, but we can help. It's one of those weird things where it would be third-party apps, and they would be able to help you with what their app does. We would be able to help you with the hookup and explain what you need to do at the mixer side. So it's kind of you might need to contact two people. But yeah, we can certainly help you with that. What have we got? Oh, Guillaume has got a SysX question. I'll see if I can find that with the QSB. Okay. I do love MIDI, so I do like SysX. Kenneth. Hi, Kenneth, from Borneo. Moderator says something to Matrix. Oh, okay. Hang on, I can kind of show that. So Matrix is an interesting one because that does catch people out. I know that took me a long time to understand. Far too long to understand, actually, considering it's actually really simple. It's just trying to explain it in the easiest way. So a matrix is a combination of mixes. So inputs can go to a mix, and then mixes can go to a matrix. So mixes, groups, and the left-right on Q can be sent to a matrix. So if I go to the end of that's why kind of they're at the end after my left-right. I can send any of these mixes to a matrix, and then the matrix output would be a combination of like left-right with a mix or with a group, or it could be a couple of groups. In fact, yeah, you could send those to a matrix, and then the matrix is an output. So it's a mix of outputs that then becomes its own output, and it means you can do your own processing or separate processing. So a lot of people use matrices for streaming, for example, because in the room they might have a setup. So you could have one matrix setup to feed a live PA system in the room, and then you could do things like use the graphic EQ to kind of shape the room a little bit. But then you might want the stream to be flat, or you might want to put your own shape on the stream. So you might want to, I don't know, boost the lows, for example, and that won't affect the other matrix, and it won't affect the left-right mix. So yeah, inputs go to mixes and groups, or inputs go to groups. Inputs and groups can go to mixes and the left-right, and then mixes, groups, and the left-right can go to matrices. That's kind of as simply as I could put it, I think. Okay, what other question we got? Joe has a ZEDi with USB capture audio in as easy. How to route back into the mixer monitor is the hard part. Okay, I'm going to answer this question, even though this is a Q session, so I'm sorry to those of you who don't have a ZEDi. But I've got one up there. Hang on. Let me bear with me 1 second, Joe. I will. You might think it's a bad idea to have dead air. Just wait for that to focus. But it's because it was up on a high shelf and you don't want to see my midriff. So here's a ZEDi. The USB, if you look, there's some little markings on there. Oh, I can get it right. And it says USB in 1 and 2 goes to stereo 2, and 3 and 4 goes elsewhere. And you can see down here, you've got stereo 3 in there, which is just stereo 3 is just for USB. So if you send channels from iOS to 1 and 2, you follow that line, and you don't have anything plugged into stereo 2, it will go into the stereo 2 channel, which is then also mixing with the effects. So if you switch the effects off, you can put them on 0 so that they're not on. It will go down to that channel, and you can then mix it as you could with any other channel. Or send it to the aux. If you send it to channels 3 and 4 from the iOS device, if you have that option, you can then mix it in with the stereo 3 channel, or you can hear it on your headphones by just pressing in the stereo 3 button. So hopefully that answers your question. Okay. He says, hi, Q'sers. See what you've done there. See what you've done there. I'm going to put that on the screen because it's good. I like it. Very punny. Is there a latency penalty on Q routing a channel to a group versus straight to LR? Oh, that's a good question. I can't remember off the top of my head. Yes, I believe there is. So with Q, it's DSP. So we have a few DSP chips in there. One of the things with as you go up to SQ and you go up to Avantis and DLive is that we have an XCVI core where we have everything aligned perfectly. With Q, it's a bit more. It's a bit more like one thing and then another thing and then another thing. So there's a little bit of routing going on. So yes, there is a latency penalty. So you don't want to mix. You don't want to process the group and mix them back in because there'll be a slight offset and you'll get some cancellation. If you want to know more about latency, I actually did a stream on latency last week. So that is available to view either through our sessions page or on Facebook or YouTube channels. But there's more information in there about what happens if there is a latency or if there is an offset. How can I apply a single mix output such a mix? Okay, cool. Okay, good question. Good question. So wxfreak, or wxfreak. It's to do with effects returns, and we do get this question quite often. So I'm more than happy to show you. I'll show you on here. I'll show you on the app because it's most like I've got a Q pack here, so this is probably most like the surface, and it has some faders. So it's probably easier. Okay, so if I want to send my snare to, do I want to send my snare? It's probably more likely to be something like vocals, isn't it? Where's my vocal channel? Let's put it on 16. 16 is going to be Vox 1. Okay, so my Vox 1 channel is going to my left-right mix. That's all good. That's all fine. There we go. And also, this monitor that we set up earlier is now... It's a Voxmon, so it's the Vox monitor. So I can send some of that channel directly to that monitor. They're happy. But now what they want is to hear some reverb, because I've sent some reverb and I can hear that in the main left-right mix, but I want to send some reverb to that mix. So the secret here, or it's not really a secret, let's first of all send. So we're sending to the effects send. So effects send 1, that's my vocal reverb. I'm sending the channel to the effects send. The effects send is then going to come in here. So that's my effects send going into the reverb. And then the effects return is coming from the reverb. So you'll notice by default, this is mostly in default, this key at the moment, you'll see that it's not assigned. Effects 1 return is not assigned to effects 1. Effects 2 return is not assigned to effects 2. And that's to prevent a feedback loop happening. But those effects returns, that's the key. So that's what I want to send to mix 1. So just select mix 1 again, and now I can bring up effects 1. The reason you'll hear it by default in the left-right mix is because by default, the left-right mix is always getting all the effects returns all the time. They're all switched on, they're all at 0 dB. By default, all of the mixes have none of the effects going to them. Because if you used something like a delay or a modulator or a bunch of the effects, ADT even to a certain extent, you could throw somebody, and it's usually only the reverb that they want. So we've by default just set it up without the effects returns going, but that's the key. So select the mix that you want to hear the reverb in and send the effects return from the effects that you want to hear in that monitor to it. So just to go over that again very quickly, Vox 1 is going to the left-right mix. Vox 1 is also going to mix 1. That's the dry signal that's unaffected. There's no effects on it. Now I'm sending that Vox 1 signal to effects 1, and I am sending the return from effects 1, because I've got the send up already, the return from effects 1 to mix 1 to the monitor. Done. Brilliant. Guillaume says, you can do sidechain compression with the group ducking. Oh, with another group. Oh. I don't know which. It's a few minutes ago to Moderator. I don't know which thing you wanted to see on the queue itself. Was it maybe the assigning to DCAs? Maybe it's assigning to DCAs and groups, and then I'll try and do Guillaume's question. So on the unit itself, I'll do it through the screen here. So on the surface, you can assign things by holding down the assign key on the left-hand side and using the select keys above the channels. Or you can do it this way. So you can do it both ways. This is quite a nice visual way to do it, I suppose. If you go into routing, so go into the routing screen, select any input channel, and you can go to mute DCA here. I can now assign these to DCA groups here, but I can assign a load in one go. So I can do it from here as well. But yeah, this is the easiest way to do it. So that's the equivalent. All my drums are going to that drum DCA. If I want to assign to groups, I can go here to group sends, and you'll see that on a channel by channel basis, I am sending. So that's channel 1. You see the top left. Channel 2 is also going to group 1, 2, channel 3, etc. And the switching it off from the main is in that first or second tab, I suppose, which is that one on the right here. It's actually a lot quicker and easier. Like that's a good way of seeing everything that's going on with each channel. But if you just select the mix with the blue mix select key on the right hand side, you can hold down the assign key and use the cell keys to assign or unassign a channel from a mix or a group or the LR, or a group to a mix, etc., etc. William says, "You've grown your hair." I have. It's grown itself. I just haven't cut it. Is there no driver? Oh, okay. This is a very good question. Very topical. Salvatore says there is no driver for Windows 11 yet. So the device for Q, like I was saying with USB, will work class compliant, so it should work. The ASIO drivers will probably re-roll shortly and have those out. What we can't say that it won't work currently, because it might work on some systems, but the time when we officially support it is once it's been through full testing. So it'll go through a full round of testing every aspect of it and doing soak testing and that kind of thing. So until that is completed, we'll say it's not officially supported, but it still might work. There's not a huge amount of difference between Windows 10 and Windows 11. But once that testing is complete, yes, the little warning, the scary warnings on our website will disappear, and it will be officially supported. Okay, let's do Guillaume's question. There we go. Oh, this is good, isn't it? When I send the FX1 send message, the fader doesn't move. When I capture via Bonebox QPad fader movement, FX1 said the following statistics appeared. Interesting. That VX is the thing that stands out for me. So let's just break this down. I'll leave it on screen for a second. The B0s there are the channels. So that's just channel 1. The 6.3 and the 6.2 we can ignore because that's sysx. The 0.7 at the end and the 2.6, those are that's just kind of a level thing. So we're up to 0.017. So that's your input channel, I believe, off the top of my head. And the VX is the value. So where that VX is, that's the thing that's going to be changing. So Guillaume, are you using that VX as a variable using Bonebox? I can. I haven't got it hooked up via. I've got it on the network. Sorry, bear with me a second. I'm just going to try and work out if I've got this on the network. La 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 la. MIDI through. Connect. I'm going to do it over the network. Here we go. And then I'm going to use Pocket MIDI, which is my new favorite app to do this kind of thing with. And I'm going to make sure that I've got my input and output port. My input port is going to be MIDI control 1. And let's see if I can change something over here. I'll show you what I'm doing a little bit, so it's not just me mumbling. So on the QPack, we've got this channel screen, which works a bit like the Surface. It's like because we haven't got a Surface on the QPack, this is the way you can change levels and stuff. So this is just a fader, effectively. So which were you changing? You're sending the FX1 send message. FX1 send. Okay, so let's say it's channel 1 to FX1. So I'll go mix select, and I'll go to FX1. And then I will make sure that that's selected. And then if I go over to my screen 2, probably can't see that. It's quite small. But that's my MIDI output monitor. What you probably can't quite see here is my MIDI input monitor. And I will get 4 messages. And I can see that those are B06320, B06220, B062E, or whatever the value is, B02610. So the only one that's changing there for me is that message that you've got as VX. So you probably want to have a play. Give us a shout, but it looks like that message is wrong for sending or controlling the effects. Give us a message using support.alan-heath.com, and either myself or one of the other guys will be able to send you some example messages. So let us know exactly what you want to control. We'll send you some example messages and tell you which ones you need to adjust. And also get Pocket MIDI, because it's brilliant. Just have a quick search for Pocket MIDI. It's a really small, cool little program that allows you to see the incoming MIDI, see outgoing MIDI, but also set up little controllers so you could have. How do I do it? Where is it again? View. Program change. It's control change. Here we go. No. View. Custom MIDI message. There's the one. That's the one. That's what I was after. So the custom MIDI message, if I take those 4 things and I pop them down here and I just get rid of that. Da-da-dee. Da-da-da-da. Let's copy that. You can put in a message like that, like the whole string, and then you can select which byte, which target byte the knob is going to affect. So I'm going to select the one that's the variable. And if I wiggle that around, if I go back to this screen, you'll see I'm not touching anything there. And I'm controlling that effect send. So I've listened to the message coming in, I've looked at what I want to change, and now I've got a message that I can change to affect the mixer. It's all very exciting. Okay, Mike just joined, although that was 10 minutes ago. So hi, Mike. Josh says, thank you for your help yesterday. No problem, man. No problem at all. Ian says, sorry, late to party. Hope you're feeling better. Well, I hope you've had a really fun time on tour. I don't know if you're back yet, Mol, but it looks like you've been having a lot of fun. It looks very cool. Seen some cool pictures. Okay. Oh, Roy Evans says, I use Dave Ratt's idea of 2 DCAs, one for compressed signals and one for uncompressed, and vary according to taste of room. Yeah, there's some really cool things you can do with groups and with DCAs. The other thing with groups, I was talking about compression. Because the I'll put it back up. Because the mix, that's what we're doing, drums, right? Because the left-right mix, the DCAs, sorry, are controlling that left-right mix. It's the equivalent of moving these faders, and if you move these faders, you're driving a different amount of signal into that group that we assigned to. So going into that group 1 and 2, the drum group, are these channels. If I put more snare into there, obviously that's going to affect the compression a bit more. And depending on what I've got, hang on, where I got it? Right, compression's on. So maybe I've got that kind of a thing going on, the threshold, and maybe it's just tickling it a little bit. It's only just catching the absolute loudest signals. I can drive into that by using the DCA. So by moving that DCA, I could have both assigned, a DCA and a group, to those input channels, and I can use the DCA to drive all of those channels into the compressor to get a different sound. So there's loads of different setups that you can do, and you can use different combinations of things, as long as you understand the differences between them and what they can and can't do. But that's a really cool thing, Roy. So thanks for sharing. The moderator says, will there come other new software updates for Q? It's still a current product, so I wouldn't say no. We just did one recently for some hardware changes and stuff. It has had more updates than, I think we're on 196. So I think it's had probably more updates than any of our other consoles. So I can't say for sure, but yeah, it's a current product. So if we find something else that we can get into it, then we'll put it in there. Can you lock a scene? Oh, that's a good one. Can you lock a scene with a password? Yes and no. Not a scene. What you can do is with the users, when you log on, you can have a user scene. Oh, I'm not showing the screen. And you can also have a scene range. So if you just had somebody, if you're like a basic user, you can say, actually, I want this person to only have access to scenes 60 to 100. So you can keep those original 60 scenes, 59 scenes. I can't work out right now. You can have those, the first block of scenes for everybody, or for admin, for you. And then you could have standard user could have access to a different range of scenes, and then basic user could have access to only a few scenes if you wanted to. Mixing to groups, compression uses it. Oh, hang on a minute. I can't believe I've just said this and I didn't read that. So sorry, I stole your. I stole what you were saying there, Anthony. Okay. It's going to have a go at that. Yeah, if you do have any questions, guys, please do post them in the chat. We've probably got another 20 minutes max. I mean, if you don't ask any questions, I'll just go and have a cup of tea. But if you do have any, please get them in now. Okay. Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully, I've got no long-term effects from COVID. When will the management of songs and USB drives improve? Oh, that's a difficult one. So I won't shy away from the hard questions. So Nunzio, the Q drive and the USB functionality on Q is quite limited, and there is not a huge amount that we can do with it. It's a device on a chip, so it's a hardware solution. So there's we've done some stuff with it. We've done things like allow BWF, like broadcast headers in it. We've done things like improve the enumeration of different drives, but some stuff like being able to manage your stereo playback tracks is probably not possible, unfortunately. So it's the other thing with Q that is annoying. I know it's annoying. It's annoying for me as well. I'm sorry, but because it doesn't have a clock in it or a time in it, it doesn't write any times to things, and it also the way it reads things is different because it depends how they were written onto the stick. So for the order of files, if you're using it just for playback, background music or whatever, it will play them just in the order that you put them onto the drive. So it's fine as a convenient thing. But for most music playback, you can use either the stereo 3-in, which is kind of what that's designed for, or you can use USB-B, so if you want to have more control. But really, yeah, the USB-A or Q drive playback of stereo tracks is really more of a convenience thing, rather than like a full-on, like a separate solution. Mo's out. Mo's back until tomorrow night, then back out for 10 days. Nice. Good man. Rock and roll. Good morning from Vancouver Island. And Daddy, which I not heard. Oh, okay. Hey, this is like the opposite of the question we had earlier. So let's do it. So Jamie says, good morning from Vancouver. My question is, how do I make sure the effects are not heard in the ear monitors of the onstage musicians and singers? So make sure the effects are not heard rather than hearing them in the monitors. Let's go back over to the trusty iPad, or should we do it this way? Let's do it on this one. Let's do it on this one. Right. So, like I say, the channel screen on this, if you haven't used a Qback before, is really just like a surface. So I'm just selecting a channel, basically. So let's find what I don't want to hear in the monitors. And definitely don't want to hear this in the monitors ever again, because this will catch you out in the future if you forget about it. I select the effects return. So I don't want to hear effects return 1 in the monitors. I go to the routing screen and I switch it off. And that's it. So now I'm not going to hear that effect, no matter if I turn this up or down, because I had it turned up before. So if I turn this up or down, and that's fine, I'm still not going to hear it because it's switched off. It's completely switched off. It doesn't matter if it's on pre or post, levels up or levels down. To show you that on the iPad as well, just in case you're using an SB, let's go to my effects return, and I'll go to my mixes, and you'll see that it is off. So that's doing the same thing. You can probably see it on the screen, actually, because I've got both up there. There you go. Ping. Switch them back on, because otherwise I will forget. People work in different ways. I'll only ever switch something off routing wise completely if I definitely never want to have it. Otherwise, I'll pull the fader down. Just because I'm an idiot and I forget things. Royce has waited until SQ back. Yep. Yeah. So DCS, do they control fader output more like a coefficient or like an offset? Yes, like a coefficient or an offset. Yes, exactly that. So they are just add them together. It is a multiple because it's dB, it's dB value. but yeah, it's like if it's at -2, and then you set the DCA to -20, the actual level to the master main mix is going to be, or that master fader is -22. If it's at +10 and the DCA is at -10, it's at 0. So yeah. Oh, we've got a zone question, which I am not going to be able to help with. I'm really sorry. I've put it up on the screen. But Emin's just bought a Zone 96 and Zone K2. Is it enough to mix with in 2 decks? I think so. I know I've got a DJ mix behind me. I like to pretend I know what I'm talking about with DJ, but that would be a question for Al. So keep an eye out on our sessions page or events page. I wonder if I can pull that up quickly. Alan Heath events. Can I find it? No. I did find it. Okay, brilliant. Our sessions events page, and all of our upcoming sessions and any other events, all our mixed masterclasses that have just won some awards. Well done to those guys. Is all on that page, and you can find previous sessions as well. But yes, Al will be doing a session in next week, maybe next week, maybe the week after, in 2 weeks time, and he'll be able to help with any zone questions. Jude says, hello from Haiti. Hello. Is there a way that I can assign a main output to an auxiliary on the stage? Oh, this is another question that we do get quite a bit. No is the answer, and it's because I was talking a little bit about this earlier, about the difference between groups and mixes and main left right. So inputs can go to groups. Inputs can also go straight to mixes, and inputs can go to the main left right. Groups can go to anywhere the inputs can go to, because a group is just a combination of input channels. But the mixes are alternative mixes, if you like, to the main left right. So the main left right is like your master mix, and then the other ones happen at the same time alongside it. So you can't send that master mix back off to the other ones. What you can do, however, and I'm just saying no, you can't send, technically speaking, you can't send the left right to, there we go. Technically speaking, you can't send the left right to a mix, but what you can do is set a mix to be post fade if you wanted to. So if you always want it to follow what's going on in the left right mix, you can say right inputs, and I can go if mix 9 and 10. So 9 and 10 is going to be exactly the same as my left right mix. So what I need to do is switch everything to post, which is in this situation not pre, it's pre or post. So etc through all my input channels. So they're now all set to post. Hang on, I'm just going to pull this up on this channel as well, so you'll be able to see it on the screen. So on the screen, you can see that mix 9 and 10 is now set to post on input 1, input 2, 3, 4, etc. And then set those faders to 0. By the way, if you don't know this, if you want to set an exact value on the app, all you do, oh, where's my camera? All you do is where you've picked up the fader to move it, just move your finger away off to the side. You'll still be selecting the fader, and you'll get finer control. That's a good tip there if you use the iPad. So I will set all of these to 0 or thereabouts. And now, whatever I set those channels to, so like they are in the left right mix, that's what's going to be being sent to 9 and 10. Oh no, the Wi-Fi's gone. Don't know what's happening with our Wi-Fi. Okay, so look. It's BT, that's what it is. If any of you from the UK, it's BT home Wi-Fi things. I need a better Wi-Fi router. The problem is I've got a really good router, but I always take it out to gigs, so I don't want to keep ripping it out from the home setup. Okay, it's possible to stream audio from PC to key using stereo one channel. Oh, it depends which model you've got. So presumably, you've got a Q32 or QSB or QPAC, all of which have a 32 by 32 interface, but also have 32 channels. So the USB channels are being sent to input channels. Because there's 32 of them, and it's on a one-to-one basis. On the other models, you can send and you can use the stereo inputs. So it's not possible, but possibly in the future it is something that we've had requested, and it's something that we've kind of looked at. Can we double up some of those channels even, so that you can continue to use your local inputs on the mono channels, and then use some of the USB channels on 1 and 2. So it'd be like having USB 1 and 2 go to channels 1 and 2 USB options, but also the stereo channel USB options. Could be handy. Jude's got a Q20. Cool. Okay, nice. Whoa, what a question. Is it better to use analog mixers or digital mixers at a concert? That's impossible to answer. I use digital all the time because the convenience. I do, have a real soft spot for analog mixers. I'm sure most people in the chat will jump in and probably have similar sentiments of is an analog great? Yes, except nobody wants to carry an analog desk anywhere. You don't have as many options. There's really nothing to it in the sound anymore. It's just fun having a big console. I would say I think I can confidently say we are now at a point where it's better to have digital mixers at a gig. You can do things like set up monitors on the stage with an iPad if your Wi-Fi is working. You can store everything. You can do a sound check and store everything. You can do virtual sound check really easily. You have stuff built into the board, so it's easier to move about. There's loads and loads of things. But yeah, good question. Good fun question, that one. So it's a reverb singer into the area, so he pushes this vocal DCA. Ha ha ha. So I was saying, on the subject of effects to stereo IEMs an issue. Sending reverb to singer's IEM, and the only time he could hear it was when I pushed up his vocal DCA. His monitor vocal channel was patched internal split. Why was the DCA controlling? So if the DCA depends where you're sending the reverb from. So if you've got a split channel, so you can do that on Q. If you use an external, if you use like a D-Snake expander box or remote audio box, you could patch one channel, one D-Snake socket to 2 channels, so you could split it that way, and then you could send one of those channels to your mains, and you could process one of those channels just for your mains, and you could send the other channel not to your mains but send it to the monitor. You would then need to send to a reverb for the main left right, so that's easy. So channel 1, just ignore monitors for a second. Channel 1's going to the reverb, and because the generally effect sends or reverb sends are post fade, it means that as you push up and down that channel, the reverb level is also going to follow, rather than it being pre-fade. That effect, or the effect send, is a mix of channels. So if you then wanted to send the second channel, the one that maybe is EQ'd for their monitors, to their monitors, that's fine. But then you'd have to send that one, or possibly send that one to the reverb as well. So channel 2 is now being sent to the same reverb. So you've got 2 lots of reverb going on from this split. So one with one set of processing, one with another set of processing. Your DCA is controlling your master mix in the main level, which is also affecting your send level for that channel 1 that was going to the main mix. And I'm finding this difficult to explain. So I know what you mean. I know what the issue is. I'm just trying to explain it in a simple way. But because you're sending from 2 channels, when you pushed up that DCA, you're sending more of channel 1, which might not be your monitor mix, to the reverbs. but the reverb is also going, which is a mix of channels, going back to the monitor. If that doesn't make sense, well, I'm really sorry, and we can chat about it later. But I think that's what it is. Okay, last chance for questions, guys, because I'm going to wrap up very shortly. So it says, what's the best way to set up in-ear monitors if you have never done it before? I think the best way to set up in-ear monitors is to get two sets or get a separate pack running on the same system if you're doing it for somebody else. But really, it's just a case of some people are fine with mono, some people want stereo. Just one of the mix outputs, whether it's a mono or whether it's stereo, into your IEM box. Make sure that all your levels are being sent at decent levels, i.e. not clipping and not nothing, so that they can set their own level. So the person using the IEM pack can set their own level, and then just get them to set up their own mix with Qu. So yeah, give them the app, give them access to the app, set it to that mix, and then they can assign things. In fact, I might be able to share it. I've got it on here. I think I've got the. Wait a minute. I've got it. It's just going to be a weird size. So hang on. All right. So this is on a phone. Obviously, it just happens to be on my iPad. So again, with drums, I can do a mix select. So that was my vocal mix that we set up earlier. Fine. Let's do the vocal mix. So I've got one for drums, so I can double tap on that, and it's got. Hang on, let's assign just the drums to that one. Yes. Okay, so that's now my drums going to that wheel. That's going to be. It's just going to be my bass actually. And now in that mix, I just double tap on the wheel. I set that up as I want it. I set the drums as I want them. I want loads of kick, bit of snare, no hats, and just the floor tom. Really like the floor tom, so I have some of that. And then from here, now they're affecting their own mix. So as long as you've done that prep work, they can even, in fact, set up their own output, PQ, GQ, and compression. But as long as you've done the setup correctly in terms of getting those line levels, and you can use the SIGGEN to help with that if you want to. Can I show you that? Yes, I can. If I can find it. Bear with. Oh no. My computer's shutting down. No. Hang on. It's crashed. How is it crashed but it's still working? That's amazing. All right. So I can go to setup, audio, SIGGEN, and that mix one that we were using, I can send. Oh, if I get it right, I've just got to do this. There. I can send that to mix one, and I can set mix one to 0 dB. So now I know that I've got some pink noise at 0 dB going to mix one, and my mix one output is going to my IEM pack, so I can set up all those levels and then remember to switch that off. Probably turn it down as well, because otherwise it might come on accidentally, which I have seen people do, just accidentally switching on a SIGGEN in the middle of a gig. What's that? Sounds like the sea, except the waves are always there. Yeah, once you got this level set up, give them Qu, show them how to use Qu, have a play with it yourself if you haven't, and then you can ignore them for the rest of the gig and tell them to do their own sound. That's my favourite thing about those apps, because I like to be a grumpy. I'm not a grumpy sound engineer. I just find it hilarious. Okay, last set of questions. So what have we got? I better pick up one or two more, because otherwise I'm just going to ramble on forever. Can we save? Oh, that's a good one. I'm going to show you that one quickly. Can we save a channel processing to the library with gain, PQ, gate compressor on one settings, not separate? Yes, you can. That is a channel library rather than a processing library. Input. Oh, not sharing my screen. So input library. channel library. So you see it would say channel library here. If I was on PEQ, it's PEQ library. But if I'm on that first channel page, it's the channel library. And I can choose to recall with preamp or not. And let's just recall something. What have we got? I'm trying to work out what's plugged in there. If I can do a phantom power, so you can see that's doing the gain as well. I don't think there's anything plugged into one. I don't think I've got any ribbon mics plugged in there. So let's recall it with the preamp. As you can see, if I recall without preamp, it's nice and safe. If I change that preamp setting and recall with the preamp, it keeps my source, but it changes the preamp setting. It's also going to EQ if I pick one of these. Things like my compressor. Let's go back to what's got some compression on it. Probably that's got compression. Must have. There you go. So it's recalled compression. It's recalled my high pass filter. It's recalled not a gate. I haven't got a gate on there, and some EQ. So yes, channel library. Channel library is what you're after for that. Mike misses his Z mixer. Oh, which is very diplomatic about the analog stuff. No, I genuinely, I do. I love the little Zs. Okay, we can have more plugins, hyperbase and stuff. That's a good question. Unfortunately, it's probably not going to be the answer that you want. So with the Avantis, with Dyne 8, so Dyne 8 uses the Dyne engine, which is there's a smaller one in Avantis, but there's the full Dyne 8 Dyne engine in DLive. And SQ doesn't have a Dyne engine. The 16 VU compressors and stuff, so all that deep processing. Deep processing is in SQ, Avantis, and DLive because it's to do with hardware. So Q won't be able to get any deep stuff. It won't be able to get the Dyne engine stuff, so like Dyne 8. Effects-wise, possibly. So it can do some of the same effects, not quite as many, and obviously doesn't have as many engines. But possibly for some of that. That's like that's kind of maybe. Okay. Oh, Mo's got it. Okay, great. I think he's got it. But yeah, if you need me to explain any of that again, Mo, I'm more than happy to chat with you anytime, as you know. Rack mixers is better than using the mixer with faders. Oh, Sam was asking about things like rack mounted mixers or mixers without faders. If you like having hands-on faders, then have hands-on faders. Get something with faders because there's kind of nothing that will be the same as that. It's really handy having an iPad. I was doing a gig on Saturday that I did with my Q pack rather than using an SQ, just because I knew that I was going to be on my iPad all day and it made most sense. If I was going to be stood at a front of house position, I would take something with faders because I quite like having things on faders. So it depends on the situation. I don't think there's either one's better. They're better for different things. I probably shouldn't even answer that question. I think that's more for the general people in the chat to answer. So I'll let you guys answer that one. Which do you prefer? Faders is it better with faders or without faders? You can do things like multiple things. You can look at the stage when you've got your finger on a fader. That's quite good. Otherwise, you're doing this kind of thing. But then you can't wander around with the console very easily and see what it sounds like in different parts of the room. So, yeah. Okay. Well, Anthony's already replied. Okay, I'm gonna wrap up, guys. Thank you so much for joining me today. Thanks for your lovely questions. Hopefully, we've answered a few of them. I did my best. If I've missed any, do give us a shout using support.alan-heath.com. support.alan-heath.com, and we'll be more than happy to help you. Keep an eye on the sessions events page for future ones. And thanks, it's been fun. Enjoy the rest of your day, however long or short that may be. I mean, if it's really short, if it's like, I don't know, midnight now, that's fine. Actually, yeah, enjoy the rest of your day. Take care. Speak to you again.